We good?
It's a cool place.
I've
never been here.
All right. Well, welcome to the first edition of the 2020 Coaches Show. I'm Todd Robinson, along with Ryan Robinson, who does the color commentating, along with me on Friday nights, and Coach Brad LaPlante, obviously our head coach, and we have some special guests tonight that we'll introduce in just a second. But we are so excited to get football season underway and to be doing a Coaches Show finally, which means football is about to be played. It's been a long road, hasn't it, getting to this point. But the Hippos kick off Friday night against the College Station Cougars in College Station. And, you know, we do this every Monday night, and we're excited this year to be at Rio Grande here on the patio. And we will make this a weekly thing. It's 6 o'clock, so we encourage you to join us on the patio. If you can't, certainly we know people are watching on the live stream on SHN Sports. So, again, our special guests, and these are all guys that most of you folks have not met yet, so I'm going to introduce them from left to right, my left to right. I'm not sure what that is on the camera. Adam Harvey, he's our new defensive coordinator. Jake Hubenek, a lot of Hippos are familiar with Jake from a few years ago whenever he put a lot of points on the board. Quarterback coach, and Mike Adams, our receivers coach, all coming over to the Hippos this year. Coach Brad LaPlante obviously has built a pretty powerful staff. We think. We'll see. Beginning Friday night, right? We'll see how that all.
Can uphold the deal, huh?
That's right. We'll see how that all works out. So we look forward to getting to talk to these guys and get to know them a little bit better. But first, Brad, I want to talk to you and just talk a little bit about just the whole building up to this football season and just the whole coaching through COVID, if you will. You know, we're all sick of saying COVID. I think we're sick of saying 2020, right? But sick of saying COVID, but go back to the spring, obviously the loss of spring practice and then restrictions through the summer. But how did you guys as a coaching staff kind of coach through COVID and work through COVID, the players? You might scoot that mic just a little bit closer to you.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we did was we just played inside the rules. Whatever the UIL gave to us, and we're thankful that they did. And, of course, you know, any football coach now that doesn't know how to get on a Google Meet or know how to use a calendar invite by this time, after all the things that our position coaches and coordinators and kids have done, they're probably wrong, I guess. But it was just hours and hours and hours of, you know, meeting and planning of the unknown and situation A, B, or C, and the time you spend with your kids throughout the summer, whether it was in person or on the virtual meetings, and, you know, helping your kids get used to, you know, April and May would end up being the start of virtual online classes. And of course for us, for our families, Adam was supposed to be here and hired, and basically kind of never started in person. And you know, that was a big transition for him. So you know, we all did it together. I think that's the biggest thing that I can say, that we bounced ideas off each other. Everybody brought something to the table. It honestly allowed us to do a good job of hiring fantastic coaches, because we did have a thief down the road steal a couple of our our coaches down there in Pflugerville, and it gave us time to go through the process and do a thorough job, not being mixed in you know, with spring ball and planning, and even though it wasn't you know, the install that Adam might be used to of putting in a new defense, we had plenty of time to do that virtually. And then of course June 8th hit, and part of the excitement hit because we were able to see our kids
start doing summer camps a little bit.
And we were the first ones. You had summer school and summer camp, and then the UIL granted us some extra hours that we didn't have before. So we took full advantage of that as a staff, and not only us, our kids did. They showed up every day, and they got in a line, and they waited till everybody was checked in and went through all the C-word procedures that we've done for so long, and just bought in, and that allowed us to maximize our time, because our community and our families and our kids bought into the plan that our athletic department, and more specifically for us for football, got to put into place. And then of course August hit, and we were supposed to start with helmets on August 3rd. We weren't able to do that, but we got more time. We hadn't had a shutdown district-wise or county-wise, so we took advantage of of more time, and then pretty soon, by the time that Monday, September 7th hit, the idea of us losing spring ball
seemed like a distant memory, huh?
kind of faded away.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was because our coaches had time to gel, and we weren't in the rush of spring ball and getting all these X's and O's in. We'd have a 30-minute, hour meeting with our kids. The rest of the time it was for ourselves, and to get our things right and get us on the same page. And our kids just kept on following along. They kept on showing up each day, and by the time September 7th hit, really our full defense and offense was all installed. We had day 1, 2, 3 practice. We were already working on that, and we really took advantage of the time. So it's been good.
Well, and I know as the communications director for the school district, obviously communications during all this COVID has been just crazy. It's been crazy for everybody. But you alluded to having virtual meetings and whatnot. And I got to tell you, it's so fun to be sitting here and actually talking face to face and not looking at a bunch of little squares on a computer screen. I think we all got tired of that, and we're still having to do some of it. But it probably, in some ways, I guess that might have been good for you guys as a new staff, right? Because you're able to all get there, get focused on one virtual Zoom meeting or whatever you were doing, and in some ways, maybe that was a little easier. I mean, we've found that some of our meetings that we have actually, I hate to say it, they've been a little bit easier and a little bit more focused in these Zoom meetings. I certainly don't want to keep doing it forever, but
no, I think some of our Sunday night ones were really productive before we came into the work week on Monday. So instead of having to come in and do a 5 a.m. meeting, we just do it at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. So you had a little bit of time to prepare yourself for your drills or for new coaches to ask questions. And that was good before you came into the Monday work week. Adam, he was in a middle of a move, from New Braunfels up here. Jake was over in Willis. Of course, Mike, you're in Georgetown. Your coaches are all over the place trying to assemble that staff and get everybody here and be ready. It was challenging. So just, it was it's still kind of fun to see. All right, let's hop on and see where everybody's at, because somebody's, in their backyard, somebody's in their spare bedroom, somebody's on the couch, somebody's in the office, somebody's out by the lake taking a break from family stuff. It made it adventurous, to say the least, for us.
It forces you to be more efficient too, because nobody wants to be on the Zoom call.
That's
Try to
right.
get off as quick as possible.
well, and you don't have to wear masks on a Zoom call. Even better, right?
True.
Yeah. Which, by the way, we're spread out. We're trying to do the best we can here. You guys obviously are all together all the time anyway, so I think we're good. Ryan and I are father and son, even though we don't live together.
This is
I
a
think we're
football
good.
family.
So yeah,
We're fine.
That's right.
We're outdoors. The wind's blowing that way away from everybody. We're good, Todd.
We're being very safe. Absolutely. We'll wipe everything down when we're done. Talk a little bit about, and then I'll move on to these guys and ask a couple of questions. We'll talk a little bit about the delay in starting the season, right? I mean, UIL obviously, just like, TEA changing things school-wise constantly, UIL was constantly changing things. But once you finally got set on a schedule and they announced that the 4A and below were going to get started, what have you guys been able to learn these last 3 weeks from watching the 4As and under as we look forward to getting started as 6A and 5A schools?
Well, I know our training staff, number one, they've reached out to other training staffs that they know around the state, and just what are you doing for hydration procedures. We reached out to a couple people regarding laundry, just so it's not in a pile and the kids are all together. I mean, there's so many things that as you talk to people, how are you rotating your groups in the locker rooms? Are you doing meetings while others are showering? What are you doing during weights? Are you leaving a group outside, and what's your rotation process? How long are you leaving them in the locker room? What are the challenges that you've had? And even for us, it was kind of hurry up and get here season. But by the time we started, of course, now you're in virtual learning. These guys are, some are planning for face-to-face, even though they're doing virtual right away. Some are going to be virtual the entire time. We didn't know when school was officially going to start. We thought it was going to face-to-face. Of course, then it got backed up to the 14th. We kind of waited to see in our long-range planning, so we didn't have to do things 2 or 3 times. Was the UIL going to change some things once 4A and 3A and the other levels had started? So by the time it happened, it was really fast. It felt really fast. And of course, by that time, since August, we've been in the office 5 in the morning the whole month of August, and it's kind of like we had already had fall camp. So even for us as grown men who, we feel we can handle it, of course, but we had to worry about the kids. And okay, what are the things that we should be putting on them? Because even if we said it was a 6 a.m. check-in, our kids were dedicated. They were there by 5:40, ready to go, and they were there early. And they've always done that for us, but especially this year, they've just followed to a T. And that's something that we'll have to monitor as we go forward. What is are there mental, I don't want to say breakdown, but just what are the mental capacities and what is the workload that's been put on our kids, not only the wear and tear of their bodies from the season and of school, but just this takes 15 minutes longer, that takes 10 minutes longer. These things are all different, and everybody's working harder, so we just got to keep an eye on our kids to make sure we're doing things the right way in the unknown of 2020.
I don't know how many times I've used the words uncharted waters, right? Everybody has, and I hope I never get to use that term again, but truly every bit of this has been, and every step of the way, everything you guys have had to do, decisions you've had to make, there's no template for it. It's never been done before. Nobody's ever coached through a pandemic, right? Or nobody that's alive has coached through a pandemic, and everything you're doing is first time. So
well, and that's why nobody's called these guys and told them they're doing it wrong, because nobody knows. So whatever we're doing is right, so it's good.
We'll see Friday night. Starts all Friday night. Well, let's talk a little bit to Coach Harvey and Coach Adams and Coach Hubenek. First thing I wanted to ask is, and obviously these are 3 of the best coaches around. For Brad to get to bring these guys to Hutto was probably nothing short of a coup. But you guys obviously all came from great programs, but I just individually, tell me what it was about Hutto. Why Hutto? Adam, I'll start with you. What appealed to you? Down in Cibolo Steel, great program down there, but what was it when Brad made the call to you that you said, man, I want to go be part of the Hippos?
Yeah, I mean, you got to start with tradition. I think the tradition here is next to none. It really is. I mean, for the whole town to be surrounded in ceramic hippos, enough said, right? I could have just made the trip up here and seen that and called it a day. But I mean, I think, the family atmosphere, I've known Brad for a few years. I think we originally met on social media, but just kind of seeing him out and about and seeing the way things were run here was very appealing to me. And then obviously with having a family, it's a big deal, and wanted to come to a place where I love the one horse town mentality and the mindset. I grew up in a small town out in West Texas, and that was really big for us, and it had to be a good fit for them too. It wasn't just about me. But I think we can win here. Obviously coming from Cibolo Steel, it was not an easy decision. That's a big time program, and I spent 7 years there, had a great time, but I'm ready to rock and roll, and I think these kids are fantastic. The parents have been phenomenal. The district, all you guys in upper leadership, I felt really welcome, as have my wife and kids, and we're excited to be here. So.
Jake, talk a little bit about coming. Obviously, you grew up in Georgetown, so you were familiar with Hutto. Hutto's grown a little bit since you played against us. But what about for you, just kind of coming up the road from Georgetown to the Hippos?
Yeah, I think that's what's been so cool to see for me. Growing up in Georgetown, obviously considered kind of like a rival school now. But I've always had so much respect for Hutto, especially making all the drives in college from Georgetown to College Station. You drive past Hutto every single time, and it just seemed like it was growing and growing, especially from, when I was this tall, and I used to drive through Hutto, and all I would see was the train tracks and the cornfields, and it was the high school and nothing else. And now there's just so much to it, the community, like Coach Harvey was saying, it's just incredible to see how much this place has really grown, but at the same time stayed so tight-knit as a community. And so that really is what drew me to Hutto. I've always, over the years, whether I was playing in college or, coaching at a different school, Hutto was kind of always a place that was really on my radar, and I was watching to see how they would do. I met Coach LaPlante last year, and we kind of stayed in contact over the year. And then when he called me and told me he wanted me to coach quarterbacks, that's something I've always wanted to do, is get the opportunity to coach quarterbacks. Obviously, we've got a great one here, so that makes my life a little bit easier. But it's a blast, and being able to coach with these guys and the staff that we have, it's been a lot of fun so far.
I do have to laugh because, Adam, you said you and Brad met over social media, and if anybody's not following these two guys on Twitter, jump on Twitter and follow Coach Harvey and Coach LaPlante, because every single day there's a hippo rising up out of the water or something.
Right.
Our superintendent, Selena, asked me, it was actually last week, she was like, where does he find all those hippo pictures? It's pretty
Type
funny.
it in. It's right there. It's right there.
So she's following you too.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, you guys, y'all do a great job on Twitter. Coach Adams, talk a little bit about, obviously you were in Georgetown last year coaching, went to UT. You probably didn't even know what Hutto was when you were at UT. Hutto was just a tiny little dot at that time, I'm sure. But obviously you were familiar a little bit with the Hippos, being right up the road also. But what brought you over here?
Kind of like these two guys said, the tradition, all those things that Coach Harvey spoke of, and I've actually lived in Hutto for 14 years and had 2 kids graduate from Hutto, and actually been in some battles against Hutto, coaching at neighboring schools like Maynard and Georgetown, and just that personal experience right there, knowing what type of program they have, and being somewhat envious at times because they've always won a lot of games, they've beaten us. And just watching how things were done, not only since Coach has been, as the head coach, but previous head coaches. I mean, that line of tradition and just doing things right, it's always been there. And, I had the opportunity to coach the middle school teams, the 707 for a couple of years. That's kind of when, Coach and I met, and, I kind of saw some inner workings of the program. And, when Coach gave me the call, I was just kind of like, man, you don't turn down Hutto. There's Westlake, there's Cedar Park, there's Lake Travis, there's Hutto, and not in any particular order, but those 4 schools around here, as far as I'm concerned, those are 4 top-notch programs. And Hutto calls, Coach LaPlante called. I kind of knew right then. I'm like, man, I got to get this. that's kind of a destination spot.
Yeah, I tell you, it's so fun to hear that. As somebody that's been here for almost 13 years now, Ryan, we've been here, I guess. Yeah. It's so fun to hear that Hutto is a place that people want to be, that coaches want to be, and that that we've, Brad and certainly Van before Brad, just building the program to the place that it is, and the respect that we have. And it's funny, you were talking about beating Georgetown. Yeah. We didn't do that until about 3-4 years ago. First time we finally did. It's like it was the thorn in our side, and finally once we did that, it was like. And there was nobody happier when we did that than Terry Doggett sitting right over there. Yeah, that was a big deal to finally get the Georgetown monkey off our back.
I was on the losing end of that stick last year.
Yeah, well, sorry. Glad you're over here with us now. Yeah,
it's kind of like, man,
can't beat them, join them, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're glad you guys are here. What have you now that you've been here for a few months and getting kind of settled in, and obviously, Adam, you're building a house right across the street from me. I get to now watch your foundation be poured here pretty soon.
That's good stuff.
What have you guys, what have you experienced now that you've been here, and both in terms of community, being in the Hippo community, but obviously with our team, with our players and other coaches?
Yeah, I got to start with the work ethic. These kids work extremely hard. And again, going just the whole community feel. I love driving around town and just seeing the pride on people's faces. I even got waved at the other day. That hasn't happened since my West Texas days. But just people loving on each other. And you mentioned the word community, and that's really important to me. And I feel like whether we're in the locker room, which not to get political here, but we know what our country's going through, and there's not a better way that I know than a locker room. The way to show things, the way things should be done. But I think Hippo, Texas, I'm going to call it Hippo, Texas, because that's what we are.
I like that.
I think Hippo, Texas does it right, and Hippo Nation, in the midst of what Hutto is what we should be. And so I've seen that, firsthand. We heard about it. In fact, as you mentioned earlier, we come from New Braunfels, a pretty special little community. And everybody that we talked to that had ties to Hutto would talk about the community, and how great the people were. And I think we've seen that, and I'm excited about that. As far as the kids go, man, they're working their tails off. Brad has said it several times where it's time to get on the field now. I mean, the product that we're about to put on the field is not because we're great coaches. It's because those kids have put in the time, the effort, the energy is outstanding. I'm ready to roll. I'm excited. So, just seeing that firsthand is something that's been refreshing, but I was already expecting it, and so just to solidify the reasons why we moved here has been exciting for us.
Lindsay, is there a time he's never excited? Yeah. When he's asleep? Oh, yeah, well, okay. We hope that doesn't happen. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that side of Adam. Jake, what about you? What have you experienced so far?
Well, somebody that comes from Texas A&M that's very considered cultish, I get a very similar vibe here, but in a good way, with how passionate people are about the Hippo itself. And I love that. I think it's great to drive around. You see the hippos everywhere, and you just see how much pride. I mean, when we did all our new teacher stuff, it was all about Hippo Nation and all that, and I love it. For me, that's right at home for me. I think it's perfect. And then as far as, like Coach Harvey said, as the kids go, I mean, the situation they've been put in the past couple months has been completely out of the ordinary, unfair to them, losing, some kids losing their last year of sports, some kids losing spring football, and, all these experiences they normally get to go through. And even now, it's still not completely normal.
Right.
But they've made it normal, and they've, like Coach said, I mean, we ask them to be there at 6, they're there at 5:45, showing up on time every single day, ready to roll. And that just, when I showed up the first day, I was just so impressed with the culture, that obviously Coach has built, but also the core of kids, have really built. And it's super impressive just to see kind of a player-led group like that, obviously with the senior leadership and then some of the guys coming up as well.
Yeah. As Red Raiders, Ryan and I, and Adam, can say A&M is definitely cultish.
Yeah, exactly.
Hutto's cultish in a good way.
In a good way, yeah. I was about to have to get up.
Yeah, we're cultish in a good way. Mike, what about you? What have you experienced with the guys first couple months?
I think, the coaching staff has been great. I mean, I just feel a togetherness, a meshness that I probably haven't felt on any other coaching staff. And I've been on a couple of good coaching staffs, but everybody's just kind of laid back. There's no trying to one-up one another. I mean, I think it's a staff that we all can kind of learn from. And to me, that was kind of the biggest surprise because, some programs, they kind of want you to know who they are and that sort of thing. I mean, if I didn't know Coach, I would just think he's another coach in the office. I mean, he's one of the first guys. I mean, he'll pick the broom up. He's not afraid to do that. He's
true.
not really the type to, hey, you guys need to be doing. I mean, I just haven't felt that.
Yep.
But we all kind of know as coaches, I mean, that expectation is there. We all kind of do our part. And, I mean, it's just real easy to coach here. And the kids, I mean, they've been wonderful. Like the other guys have said, work ethic. I mean, we don't really have to coach them too hard. I mean, some guys, they get it. Then you have other guys who, players need to step in and say something. I mean, they do. And everybody responds in a positive way. So that's been the biggest thing for me so far. And that's always a welcome. I mean, anytime you see that, you can tell there's a closeness, a togetherness. And that's always big if you're talking about playing for a long time each and every year.
Even a Longhorn and an Aggie, and it didn't take the media long to obviously pick up on that Brad hired a former Longhorn player, a former Aggie player, put them on the same coaching staff. Actually, we got Longhorn, Aggie, Red Raider. We got it all represented here, right?
Little cousins right here. Little
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sure there's a little bit of talking that goes on constantly, right, Brad?
I've stayed quiet.
I have too.
I've stayed quiet.
We've actually
But the
been pretty
season
good
hasn't
about
really
it.
started yet.
It's pretty mellow.
That's true.
Football is on.
Well, I can almost guarantee you the Longhorns will be 2-0 after this weekend, meaning the Red Raiders will not be 2-0.
Hey, I'm pulling for that upset though.
We've
So
had
are we.
trouble in Lubbock.
Guns up on that
Yes,
one.
you have. I don't think you're going to have trouble this year.
That game is always, can never take it for granted.
No. Maybe this year
We're
you
hoping
can.
maybe it gets canceled.
Yeah. Something will happen. So, talk you guys about. Okay, you played at UT, star wide receiver, and are you still the receiving? Do you still hold the record over there for receiving yards?
I'm somewhere at the top. Coach reminded me a couple of days ago. He said, "You still up there?" But
Anyway, you're up near the top, playing. Both of you guys played big time D1 football, right? At UT, at A&M. Talk a little bit about the experience of playing at that level, and as coaches, what you can then bring to these kids that are on the football field. because you obviously we've got some kids out there that are going to be playing at that
Yes.
at that next level. What can you guys take from what you did and help develop these kids for that next level?
Well, I think that was one of the things that Coach mentioned earlier. I mean, this being a program that, you have some top flight players. I mean, these guys are used to winning, and you have guys that want to play at that next level. So if that internal motivation is already there, I mean, I see that as a player. I'm sure these coaches see that, and we want to do whatever that we've done that we can bring to the table and help them get there. And just about everybody that I've seen, I mean, these guys want to play at the next level. They have the talent to play at the next level, and they work hard. They work hard. They don't play set in front of our team, but they're doing things outside of here that they're trying to get this team to the next level as well as help themselves. So I draw on every little bit of experience that I've come across, experience that I've gained from other coaches, experience that I've gained from playing the game, and I just try to impart them each and every day.
Jake, anything that you can take away from your time playing D1 football that you can speak to these kids about?
Well, especially with COVID going on and the online classes and, now being able to do actual football in the summer, that's something that in Texas high school, like when I played in high school, that's something that never happened. But being somebody that just graduated from college that took, who knows how many online classes and, we got to do the summer football during the summer. That's something I can kind of relate to them with and kind of help them through. And, kids not ever taking an online class before, and they kind of struggle with that because it's something new to them, but something that's also going to be great for when they go to college. That's something they can actually take advantage of now, because now you kind of have more time. You know how to balance that time now to where I can get my stuff done, and now I can go focus on football and stuff like that. Yeah. And then also just us really understanding what it takes to get to that level and what it's going to take to maintain that level.
Right.
It's one thing to get there. It's one thing to be the guy that gets to go play now and not just kind of get lost in the shuffle. So really making those guys understand, you're not just competing against this little bubble right here. You're competing against everybody in the country now, trying to make a name for yourself and then being able to stay kind of at that top level when you get there.
And Adam, I know you've had a lot of guys go on and play at the next level from your time down at Cibolo, and one of the things when you and I first met a few months ago, I remember one of the things you told. Actually, you and I met years ago. We just didn't realize it as we made that connection. But I remember you telling me that you're a fan of so many colleges because you're a fan of those kids that played for you in high school. You're a fan of their teams when they're playing on Saturdays, right?
Absolutely. Add TCU to the list, right?
Yeah.
With Landon committing there, and so. Yeah, I mean, I've got kids all over the Big 12. Went to San Marcos a couple weekends ago. Got to see Chase Cromartie at SMU play, and I love it. I love it. So watching those kids develop, whether they come from our program or move in or change positions, there's nothing better. And then watch them flourish at the next level is even more exciting. It really is, and that's what a lot of these kids dream about. We all dreamed about it. Those two guys got to fulfill it.
Yeah.
And I played 1 year of college basketball in an AIA school, a little bit pipsqueak, right? But to be a coach of those kids, I don't know if I could be more proud. I mean, it's awesome. Watching the Wolf at DKR, go to work, and Caden was one of those kids that I can compare a lot of kids to because he wasn't the most athletic, but the work that kid put in, unbelievable. And so. When I see kids, even like Landon, he and I were talking just this morning in the weight room about what it takes, to jump from a 4-star to a 5-star, and I mean, there's thousands of coaches who'll never be able to coach one 5-star, and I've had the blessing of coaching two.
Yeah.
One of them is suiting up for the Aggies this fall.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool to watch those kids just flourish at that next level and, see them put in the work, the time, the effort, watching the things that their parents put them through and, the support that they get from their parents. There's nothing better in this profession as far as I'm concerned. So it's fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Brad, talk a little bit about, Hippos moving to 6A this year. We talked a lot about that, obviously, last spring and even last fall when we knew it was going to happen. But moving to 6A, what does that do for a program like Hutto, for a place like Hutto? And, certainly I think the Hippos, we were already on the map and in terms of the college recruiters and making their way over here. But does that open up even more doors, being in a 6A program?
I think, our staff can create a lot just with connections of guys that we've made. Our location is certainly good. I mean, when it's spring ball and they're out here in April and May, once April 15th hits, we've always kind of dedicated our practice schedule to it. There's not many days that go by without a recruiter in a polo shirt out at Hutto Memorial Stadium. So it's here. I think where we can build things as a coaching staff and the awesome kids that we have is who can we beat at the 6A level?
Right.
That puts yourself even more on the map. Everybody always, talks about the Judsons and the Steels and the Lake Travis. Well, okay, we're a part of that now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what are we going to do when we get the opportunity to do that? But of course, it's got to start with our beginning in non-district and get to 1-0 in district play and take care of 25 6A before
Right.
you think about big prestigious wins. But I think they've touched on how hungry our kids are. I mean, you take a look at some of the kids that are here in the audience. Those grass fields got used a lot.
Yeah.
We've got a quarterback that put on 15 pounds over there. Brody calling me on Saturday afternoon, asking me if our facilities are open for conditioning. Forrest over there throwing balls with 8th and 9th grade buddies of his over the course of the summer. That's what it takes. It doesn't just happen the time that we get
Right.
with them. What are you doing in the backyard? Are you watching video? Are you taking notes of NFL games and college games that you're watching? And everybody likes football. Everybody likes football. But there's a difference, and it doesn't matter if you went to an NAIA school. You put in extra time
Absolutely.
to stay at that
Yeah.
level. You're still the best of the best. That you've got to be the best in our locker room to make it at any of those places.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just Division I. Now that's another step. But wherever you're leaving and going after here, that family support and mom being there without the home cooked meals and just the homesickness that you go through, you've got to be a tough sucker to make
Yeah.
through all that sort of stuff. So it's a big deal when kids at that collegiate level, whatever it is, when they're successful in the classroom and on the gridiron too.
One of the things that I've always admired about you, and I've told you this many times, is you will do anything to find a kid a spot after high school. If there's a school in North Dakota, actually we did find one in North Dakota, I think, but anywhere, you will find a place for a kid if he wants to play.
Well, and that's something that we'll send out here in a little bit to some of our seniors. Landon, of course, has committed. Some of the other ones, we're going to get that film out, and they're making their highlights at practice. And of course, right after the scrimmage, you see all the stars light up on Hutto and all that, and they're doing the right things. And we'll review that as position coaches and get that out. And since about July 15th. The college coaches, they're used to grinding all these hours. They've had so many more opportunities to reach out to us for recruiting. I don't know how many sheets. I mean, I forwarded you some of those. I've sent out a bunch. I mean, it's crazy that schools that have never reached out to Hutto, Texas, are finding us now, whatever the reason. It might be just one good player. It might be a new coach joining our staff. It might be whatever reason, but they're here. And we need to make sure that we
You almost need a full-time person just to deal with all of that, don't you?
You'd help one more in that office would be really good. Whew.
I tried to help you.
I know. I'm not looking over there.
Hey, you touched a little bit on, you said District 25 6A, and I actually have that obviously on my notes. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, the Hippos now move into a District 6A, but move into a district that everybody's close. We're not having to travel anywhere, to speak of. Everything's Round Rock pretty much, Leander, but all of our games are going to be nearby now. And but talk a little bit about that district and those teams with Cedar Ridge, McNeil, Round Rock High School, Westwood, Stony Point, Vandegrift, and Vista Ridge. Just kind of give us a little preview. We'll talk about the Hippos separately, but a little preview of that district. Going forward.
Some people, think that because we're the unknown, we may have the advantage when we see them. Me, I may look at it a little bit different. I don't know them. They all know each other. They've been together. Vandegrift has been, the top dog here a little bit as of late. But, when you get good quarterbacks, all the way through, it's good. When you got A.J. Martinez over there at Westwood, you got the Brown kid at at Vista Ridge, and you got the Chambers kid. There's marquee players that at key positions are getting a lot of good attention from college scouts, and their teams are rallying around them. And not a lot of coaching changes. Maybe between head coaches and coordinators, there might be maybe 3 total between us and our changes and what other people have had in the league. That stability, we need to find out what that's all about. But it seems like every week it's a dogfight. It's 47-44, it's 77-75, whatever it was last year. Those are a different style of games maybe than the Hippos have had the past few years when you've got a low-scoring game against Cedar Park, or it's 27-21 in some of our games in our toughest matchups. So it's kind of going to be a matter of whose style matches up with each other. And of course, anytime you get in against good, formidable opponents, it's winning the one-on-one battles. It might be a 3 technique against the guard. It might be one of our good corners against an X-receiver. It might be our quarterback making the right read against the safety over the top. So it's all about winning those one-on-one battles and matchups. And how we've progressed things this summer, I feel good about that. The one thing that really for us is the unknown really is the special teams and the depth area. We put a kid at a position today that he hasn't played, and that's just adding more depth as we go, and that's something that we're going to have to continually do as we grow the size of our program.
All the schools in 25-6A, or pretty much all of them, spread offense, lighted up kind of teams. Is there anybody that's just a grinder?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see some 2-back, and you'll see some 20 personnel with no tight end. You may eventually see some 2 tight, and I think if you go over the past 4 or 5 years, most of it has been spread. But just like we do with our personnel, they're going to change with injuries, or this body type comes in that's going to change some different things. But I think right now the quarterbacks and maybe 2 tailbacks in 25-6A are probably leading the show for what they're designing around the offenses right now.
I guess one thing the delay has done, and then of course it's worked against us as much as it's worked for us too, though, is a little more time to watch film and become a little more familiar with the teams we'll be playing, right?
No, it is, and I think our biggest focus was getting our staff together and getting our kids right. We can only control what is in our control. Whether they're going to be a 4-down or a 3-down, we don't control that. Their blitz percentages, we won't control that. How they line up offensively, we don't. How we line up to them, we will control some of that. And of course, by the time everything hit, and we didn't know if we'd get 2 non-district or 3. And of course, Travis County, they weren't even working at the time. Right. And then the schedule got shuffled a little bit there. So now it's time to really see, through scrimmage film that you get on opponents, and of course, and everybody gets that live game, and now you're putting jersey numbers with, because people mix them around for scrimmage and different things, what people have. But we know this year, at the drop of the hat, it could change so much with the Sea Dogs. So we'll have to see week to week how we're going to match up with those fine opponents.
Let's drill down a little bit now and focus on the Hippos. So talk a little bit about what you've seen so far, and you guys can all pitch in, but strengths that we've seen so far, some concerns, things that we're a little leery of going into the season, and just kind of run down the list.
Well, I think one of the things that I thought was going to be a weakness was our communication. We lost a good heady senior class, and who was going to step up and be those leaders on the field, and talk coverages on the back end, or if we've got a blitz on, and losing wide receivers, and who's going to communicate out there. These young kids have really done a great job, and they've picked it up. And in fact, in some areas, I think we're doing a lot better. And a lot of that's to go along with our coaches and the fine job that they're doing. But these kids are hungry. They're winners. Our sophomore class, they're a big class as far as not only numbers but quality. Yeah. And they've always been a winning group. So the fact that they've gelled with an older senior class who respects them for what they're doing, I think has been really well. And I think I couldn't ask anything right now more of our senior class and the things that they're doing. Of course, it helps when you have a returning quarterback.
Right.
Even though Grayson was a sophomore last year, we knew as a coaching staff, the kids knew what he was capable of, but, he's going to bring that much more to the table this year with another year under the belt and other guys stepping up around him. It's been really good, but, if there's maybe one position that's been a big surprise to me, I'd probably start with our defensive line. They've done a fantastic job. When you as a coaching staff, when you take a Braylon Sugg off the line of scrimmage and a Landon Watson, all right, you're going to go line up 4.5, 5 yards deep, and you're going to go split between the tackle and the number 2 receiver, and you're going to lose those guys who absolutely will win the one-on-one battles and do something different with kids that were unknown and unproven. Our defensive staff has done a fantastic job, and those kids have just bought in. And, people are been asked to play different positions, and they've shown up. So that would be the one position that has really elevated their play to me.
What would you say? And I know you don't want to say anything's a weakness, but if there's something that going into the season that's kind of an unknown, what do you think that is right now?
Like our wide receivers just stemming the routes. They're young. They don't have a lot of varsity experience. We might be running 2 or 3 schemes with varsity this year that maybe they did at JV last year. A couple of guys are playing both ways. So, Adam's sharing them and Mike is sharing them on offense, so they get less time at one position. So it might be, hey, we're walking out in the stretch line and we have to introduce a concept to them because they're on the other side of the ball, and they'll come back to us with team time on the defensive side of the ball that day, and Adam's got to talk them through it without doing drills with them that day. So to maximize that time and get those guys up to speed, and Mike will tell you that you can run a comeback route or you can run a post route, but to figure out what the coverage is, where that corner is playing on, and how you're going to stem on that route to create leverage in your favor and create some space, there's a big difference than running a route on air and you've got a live man right there with hands on you and stemming up that route, and getting the timing with your quarterback over a defensive line, over linebackers, and under the safety. So I think that's something that, as those young receivers that you and AJ work with, we're going to see a lot of big changes with them and how they stem those routes and learn how to create space and play off the play of those defenders.
Mike, is that one of the things that you really enjoy? I mean, obviously there's some kids that just have natural skill, right? God-given ability. Do you like really teaching the mental part of all of that and as a receiver, just not just the athletic part, but just the mental part and what to look for? And
that's been big here at Hutto. I mean, obviously the talent is here, and I do think the guys had some part of the mental aspect of the game, to the best of their knowledge. But like Coach said, a lot of youth. I mean, just learning how to run routes against certain coverages, just learning how to compete against other guys who have your same ability. I mean, it's going to take much more than just athletic ability. And we have I don't want to say a simple scheme. It's simple, but it's complex. And, being new, being a freshman, and even for me as a coach, just, erasing some of the things I've already learned and trying to apply that to what we're doing. I mean, that's even taking some time. I was listening about Tom Brady yesterday, him being with the Patriots for 20 years, but he's having, some not really problems, but he's adjusting to the Tampa Bay playbook.
Right.
So it happens at all levels.
Right.
So I think just by us getting those reps each and every day, and that's big, that's important, and having to share, positions, with the DB crossing over, just those reps each and every day, film time, that's obviously crucial, and it's me and my partner AJ. He's young himself, but very knowledgeable. I mean, I think together, especially with all the numbers we have, our receivers are looking pretty good. I mean, they still have a long way to go, and I do think through the years, along with Jake, also being part of that, just a bunch of talent. A lot of guys who can make plays, fly around the field. And I think I think that's going to be a strength, being an unknown commodity to some of these teams that have been around. I mean, they've surely heard of Hutto,
right,
but they haven't had a chance to line up and play against them. But I know they know. We all watch Friday Night Lights, all that kind of thing. They know that this program is good. They know that kids are over here. And, it's going to be fun to see our kids grow each and every week. That's going to be fun.
Just an aside, I think Tom Brady will figure out that program and he'll still be playing when he's 50.
Oh, yeah. You're probably right.
When he and Drew Brees played against each other a couple of weeks, I said that had to have been the combined oldest two quarterbacks that ever played. Was it? Yeah. I never saw for sure, but I figured that it probably was. Jake, talk a little bit about, you've got a quarterback that's a junior, played last year, started as a sophomore. You were there at one time, and how much growth do you experience from that first year of varsity to that second year of varsity play?
No, it's big. And, I mean, one thing that's impressed me the most about him, I always considered myself, obviously I got to go play at a high level, but I always considered myself like a Division I mind with like a Division II arm. Like, I really didn't have the talent, but I used, my film study and stuff to really get me there. And that's something showing up, with him. He's hungry. He wants to learn more. And I think that's kind of something that, he really uses to his advantage, is that he knows football and he, is constantly wanting to know more. And sometimes, he almost knows too much. Like, it's like, well, why is the defense running the coverage wrong? Why is this guy not doing this? And so it's super impressive that he, has that ability and understands that. And I think one thing that's been great for him, along with the supporting cast he has, great receivers, great line, great running backs, has really been our defense. And they've given it a lot of good looks. They're throwing stuff at him, putting pressure on our receivers. I think as an offensive whole, it's made us a lot better. They're not just sitting back, giving us the 5-yard hitches all day. They're making us work for everything we get. And I know, that's a quarterback's best friend. First of all, when you get to go against those guys every day, but then at the same time on Friday nights when they're getting stops out there, I think that really gets the momentum of the team going. So I think that's been great for him to kind of get all those different looks and stuff through fall camp. So when season comes around, nothing's going to be new to him.
Right. Adam, you obviously inheriting a kid like Landon Watson, but his defense isn't just Landon, right?
Absolutely.
Brad mentioned Braylon, and you got a sophomore sitting right behind you that's huge and is going to be just a monster for the next 3 years that likes to literally try to knock people's heads off, and did in the scrimmage the other night.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
So how for you, when you look at not only what you have this year, but what you're going to have for the next few years, that's got to excite you, right?
Oh, it's extremely exciting. Coming in, we knew we were going to be young, especially in the back end, in the secondary. This linebacking core, and you're right. It's Landon, but it's not led by Landon because Brody's had more experience at that position, whether it's on Friday night or Thursday night.
Yeah.
And that's neither here nor there. That's our job, as coaches to develop these kids, to get them prepared for what we're going to do. Schematically, I'm very confident in what we're doing schematically. But I tell you, it's the speed of the game right now that these guys are implementing. It's wowing me. We've got undersized corners right now, but they're playing like big boys. And I actually said that on Twitter the other day and gave one of them a shout out. Our receivers aren't small and obviously fast because three of them took it to the house last Thursday night. They touch the ball at any moment, they're gone. And, so one of the things that over the pandemic, I had the opportunity to speak at some online clinics. And it got frustrating to the point where, oh, well, you got dudes that sit below still, and that's why you're running press coverage. Well, news to the world, we're running press coverage with a 132.3-pound corner.
Wow.
And that's who we are.
Yeah.
It's a mentality. And I tell you, kids like Jose Pena, Gary Choice on the other side, who doesn't weigh much more, I think he's maybe 138.6. We're gonna get in people's face, and we're going to cause problems because, again, it's the mentality. And those two young men, along with guys like Anthony Martinez, who kind of came out of nowhere this summer. We're going to play hard, And then, Jay Lambert, JJ Banks, guys that are going to kind of move both ways. That secondary's done a phenomenal job, and we're getting depth behind those kids, And then you look at the linebacking core, and no offense to anybody at Cibolo Steel, but this is the best linebacking core I've ever coached.
Wow.
And two of them are transplants from the D-line, as Brad was saying earlier, and so I couldn't be more excited, And then to top it off, we're the most impressive unit to the head coach has been the D-line, you know, and we're about 8 deep there, and we're going to work that by committee. We're going to get after people, We're going to play fast and furious, physical, and when we do those things and everything comes together in all 11, you hit it on the head. It's not a one-man show, but what I'm excited about is I think there's so many kids that are going to make plays that maybe people forget about that 4-star and we're going to flush it to him, and now all of a sudden he gets his time to shine, And so that's the way I see defense. It's an all-11 thing, and let's go. Friday night couldn't come soon enough.
Coach is already losing his voice, and it's only Monday of the first week of the season.
It's that stinking train, man. 10 trains a day. I got to yell it over that thing.
Get used to that. There's Hutto. There's a Hutto unique feature for you. Brad, talk a little bit about leadership coming into this season. I think you lost some guys last year, and I think every year you're probably looking to see, okay, who's going to step up and who's going to be the leaders. And we talked a lot about that last year, right? And who are some guys that have really stepped up and you see have emerged as leaders, and what are they doing to accomplish that?
Well, to take a select 4 or 5 to me is tough because, as we've already alluded to, our kids are here every single day. I mean, every day. And even, we had a young kid, Joseph Teagle, who was at Temple, but he's lived here. His dad's a coach. He's come in and fit right in, even though he wasn't one of us. I mean, that's part of leadership right there. We had kids that we were able to, after the scrimmage, make a final determination that, all right, you started out in the JV locker room, you're moving to the varsity locker room. That's leadership. They willed themselves into that varsity locker room. But I think you're talking about those little rat 132-pound corners. They do a great job talking out there. Our DBs have really done a great job talking out there. And part of the design of our locker room is we have them in groups by position, and we've done that in past years. Of course, some of it you have to concentrate a little bit more because the sea a little bit, but. I think that when you go into that locker room and you walk around to each position group, they're their own little family there, and they're talking every day, and they get along, and they're happy to be here. They want to do everything that's thrown at them every day, and there's not anybody that they're trying to drag behind.
Yeah.
But certainly that linebacking core, and you're right. With Zane and Oko getting some stuff in there, and Brody and Landon and Braylon, they're doing a great job. You got Shapey even, coming in playing 2 different positions there. They're probably leading that defense by getting the D line right, because each level has to talk to each other. Everybody thinks about the offensive line having to work as a unit of 5, but certainly we've got a 3 down front, but they have to work a lot with gap exchange when a linebacker blitz is coming, and now they do tight end trade or fullback moves, and now the strength changes, and the blitz that we had over here now changes over here. Well, how do you communicate that to get that done? Well, that's because they just keep on talking and doing a great job of that. Offensively, it's a pretty quiet group. I think a lot of the leadership comes from their play, but if you're talking verbal leadership, it's certainly from Mr. Grayson Doggett, and he's doing a great job and helping those young kids. It's never, if a route is not run correctly or wrong route or wrong depth, it's I'm going to go over and help you get that right. It's not I'm mad at you that I just threw a pick where you should have been, or I just threw a ball where there was nobody within 10 yards. It's, hey, let's get better and we'll go get it the next time. And that's, hopefully as new coaches they see that's what our coaching style to coach up and hey, if you drop a ball, catch the next 10. It's not catch the darn ball. That's just not what we're about here, because we have confidence in our kids to do the next thing. And so that leadership comes from, our good coaches, but certainly we've got those player leaders doing a great job there.
Well, and you expect your quarterback to do that, right? I mean, that's part of the job of a quarterback, right? It's to be that leader on the offense, right, Jake? So, yeah. Takeaways from the scrimmage against Belton, some things that you guys saw and really got excited about. I mean, one of you mentioned it, speed. Man, I didn't realize how fast we were standing down there watching our guys. I mean, some of our receivers ran away from some guys. I was blown away by the speed I saw out there by us.
I think we really look fast. I mean,
we did.
You don't know when you're going against each other, and we kind of talked that Belton's going to be a good quality team afterwards, and give them a bunch of credit. But when you sit back and watch the separation that we had on 3 really big plays and a couple other plays that we had, and of course you think about the offensive side of the ball because of some of the coverage that we had in social media and different things. But how many times did you see 4 or 5 or 6 hats just flying to the ball defensively?
Yeah.
And if that kid wouldn't have made the tackle, those two were right there to make that tackle too. And just being in position is because of speed and just the angles. I think we've taken great angles defensively this year. So I think that's exciting, and just to know that we've got choices of kids to put in. That depth is starting to come into play, and kids are feeling comfortable with the defensive and offensive scheme. That okay, I'm getting settled in, and even some of the kids that we made decisions on, they were last minute decision. It wasn't like it was day one. All right, we're going to put them in the JV locker room, knowing that they had to prove it, and kids did, and they're just the comfort level is there, and it's a good time for them to be playing at that good high level that they want to be. So and part of that is just there's just so many changes with schedules from virtual to face to face, and all right, we've even had to change our practice schedule and just the design that our kids are settling into a good routine now.
Well, the speed and the aggressiveness, and I'm sure part of that just comes from you're ready to hit somebody else, right? You guys, y'all know what it's like. I mean, you can only hit each other for so long, and then you're ready to take out some frustration on some.
Well, they had a lot of frustration to take out too.
Apparently so.
Yes, they
Well,
did.
but again, even Jake alluded to it in the past. You think we're frustrated. All right, so we have week 1, we do an inter-squad scrimmage. We have week 2, and then we have an opponent scrimmage. We've been working since June 8th. They've been going against each other. There are times where you couldn't do 1-on-1 or 7-on-7. Well, but there's been 9-10 weeks that the rules have allowed us to do that. So it's not just been 2 weeks that they're sick of hitting each other or going against each other. It's 9 or 10. So they were definitely ready. But part of that is them trusting themselves, because a confused player is a slow player.
Right.
So they obviously know their jobs, and they were doing it well on Thursday night. So I can't wait to see it progress throughout the week and everything we're throwing at them for Friday night.
I think to piggyback off of that real quick, I told the defense if I could lay my head down at 11 o'clock, and ended up being about 1 in the morning on Friday morning, but if I could lay my head on my pillow and say we'll be fine in our basic, scrimmage format, we're rocking.
Yeah.
And there was not a bat of an eye. I mean, those guys played extremely fast with literally about 1/10 of the install.
Yeah.
We didn't even get through day 1 in install of what we ran.
Sure.
So we're rocking. I took away a lot of excitement, and again, I can't wait to get on the field this Friday.
There's some intensity down there for a scrimmage.
Well,
I'm guessing there was
without not playing everybody either.
Right.
Or some kids we held out at the end. So.
Right. Yeah, obviously Landon didn't play. I'm guessing there was a little talk Friday morning probably about don't let the other team get you a little riled up.
We may have touched on that subject on Friday morning. I think the guys know our expectation, and that's us. We've got to control that. But your opponent, there's a 3-headed monster that comes into that with the control. But I think they have the gist and know that the way we're going to play.
Better to learn that in a scrimmage, right? Yep.
Yes, sir.
Address that quickly. Okay, real quick. Talk about College Station. I mean, we have a kind of going back a few years, a little bit of a history with College Station. Probably one of the most exciting football games ever played at Hutto Memorial Stadium was against College Station in that round 1 of was that 2014?
Yes.
Yeah, that playoff. Oh my gosh, Bryce and I probably still could go back and listen to the call of that game. That was something else. And then, of course, played them I think the next year or 2 years later at their place, and it didn't turn out so well. But we played them a couple of times. But what do we see? What do we see from the Cougars this year?
Well, you're talking about a team, I think, that's won 64 games since 2014, and a formidable program. Of course, they were 14-2, and I think 15-1, kind of back-to-back years.
Yeah.
They won state in 2017. So this is a great first-round matchup for us. A great team, a good tradition. Offensively, they've got I think it's a 3-star tackle. He's 295, 300 pounds. He's got some beef in there that moves pretty well. A tailback he brings a load. He's 5'10", 195, 200. He's going to bring it. We need to stop him and control that run. Quarterback is a coach's son. A good heady guy. They're going to run power. They're going to run sprint out. They're going to run a draw away from the sprint out, and they're going to run wide zone. And I could have called the town ball coaches 2 weeks ago, and they would have told me that same thing.
Yeah.
What they do well. And they'll just keep on coming at you, and their tailbacks have always had really, really, really good patience. They'll sit inside, and you jump a gap, and they pop it for 19 outside. So we're going to have to fit our gaps, really well. And if we stop the run, we're going to be, I think we're going to be okay. We've got some speed on the edge, but I think the confidence that we have in the defensive backfield right now against our speed, wide receiver-wise, has been built throughout all of fall camp. So it's been good. And their return game, on punt return and kick return, has been good over the years. So our placement on our punts and our kickoffs are going to have to be on point, and our coverage lanes are going to have to be really well. We're going to have to fly down the field and cover up those kicks. And then they're a base 3-4 defense. Of course, it's hard to know if they're going to blitz a lot or what they're going to be this year because, generally speaking, in scrimmages, you'll bring 1 or 2 at a time. You're going to bring a 4-man pressure or 5-man pressure. Very rarely, do you bring a 6 or 7-man pressure in a scrimmage. So we'll have to feel out their blitz and blitz percentage throughout. They've got a big nose guard. I think their linebackers take really good angles. And I think they've got a corner that they really feel can win one-on-one matchups. So if we're going to go a trip or a tight end side tray formation, they can roll some safeties to help out to the multiple receiver side. So we'll see if what they did against Temple in their scrimmage, a good program, Temple, if they're going to do some of those same looks offensively and defensively against us.
And y'all got film on that?
Yes, sir.
Got to watch that scrimmage. Yeah, like you said, a great game to start the season with, and you'll find out real early on, right? I mean, what we're made of and where we're gonna some things that we'll need to work on. And got 2 weeks of non-district games, College Station, and then Waco, and then jump right into district play.
Yes, sir. So we're going to do senior night, the first home game, October 2nd there, to make sure we get that in for our awesome seniors.
Just in case.
Have done that. You never know what might happen, so that's a different thing we'll be doing this year, but it's going to be good against Waco, and it'd be great to play 2 great weeks of non-district ball and going into a tough 25-6A run.
And just some kind of housekeeping reminders for folks this year. Obviously, 50% capacity in our stadium, limited seating. Our website, if you go to hipponation.org/athletics, that's where you can find links to tickets. That's also where you can find links to live stream. We'll be live streaming games this year. Obviously, the UIL waived that rule of not being able to live stream on Friday night. So people don't only just get to listen to Ryan and I; they get to see Ryan's pretty face whenever we're like pregame.
So that's a premium version.
That's right. But might have to pay for that. And no, we're excited to be able to live stream. But again, if you're planning on coming to games at Hutto Memorial Stadium, tickets are going to be limited. First priority on the weekend before games goes to families of players and other participants that'll be part of that, including band, cheer, whatnot. And then community can begin buying tickets on that Monday of a game week at home, and again, they're limited. And then on road games, every road game will probably be a little bit different. Right now, we have a link on our website to buy tickets for College Station. I know there's only a limited number of those as well, but if you're interested in making that trip down to College Station, go on the website and buy your tickets. And I tell you what, we need some fans to travel down there because College Station isn't allowing our band or our cheer or drill team to come, right? So we need some vocal fans to show up and support Hippos.
Well, I think that's the thing that we have to go. It's week to week. What are we doing? Because everybody's stadium and everybody's venue is going to be different. Home we're going to be consistent, of course. I think the biggest thing for home is get your ticket before you come to the stadium to make sure you have one, because it's a cashless system and we're not going to have them at the gate. So we want people not to get up to the gate and get turned away, of course. But certainly going to the athletic website each week to find out what's Round Rock ISD doing. Is it different from one stadium to another, and what are they doing over at Monroe and Leander, and just kind of paying attention so what's going on each week.
Yeah, and follow, if you're not following the Hutto Hippos Facebook page, do that. We have our district Facebook page, but we have the athletic Facebook page where we post all of these kind of things. And then, obviously, I already mentioned following these guys on Twitter. They'll post everything that, beyond their excitement, they'll also post pertinent information on the Twitter page. And then there's also a Hutto Football Twitter page as well. And then, of course, I mentioned the website. But 7 o'clock Friday night in College Station against the Cougars. And boy, we're excited. I know you guys are excited, and appreciate y'all joining us. Coach Adams, Coach Hubenek, Coach Harvey. Glad you guys came out. We're glad y'all are here, part of Hippo Nation, and for those folks watching and those folks that are out here tonight, we do this again every Monday night at 6 o'clock here on the patio at Rio Grande. Glad to be here this year, and we're excited. It's football season, and we hope we're still playing football in January this year. We used to say December. This year, it's this season, it's January. We hope we're playing football in 2021, and we'll look back to when it all began at the end of September. So, for Ryan Robinson, for Coach LaPlante, for Coach Adams, Coach Hubenek, Coach Harvey, I'm Todd Robinson. Tune in Friday night at 7 o'clock and watch the Hippos in their first ball game against the College Station Cougars on that link. Thanks for joining us for the Coaches Show. Good night, everybody.